The morning sun filters through the windows of bean and bloom, casting golden streaks across worn wooden tables that have witnessed countless conversations, dreams shared over steaming cups, and quiet moments of solitude. This isn't the kind of coffee shop that makes headlines or attracts social media influencers with elaborate setups. It's something far more precious, a quiet corner sanctuary where dreams simmer as gently as the espresso machines. Clara Jensen stands behind the counter, her movements deliberate and careful, each gesture weighted with the kind of precision that comes from years of practice. At 27, she carries herself like someone who's learned to take up less space than she deserves, her shoulders slightly curved inward, her voice pitched just below what might draw attention. She's the quintessential shy girl who creates art in foam and flavor that no one notices, crafting small masterpieces that disappear with each sip. She's the kind of person who sees magic in small things. The way steam rises from fresh coffee, how morning light transforms ordinary moments into something beautiful, the delicate balance of flavors that could transport someone back to their grandmother's kitchen. It's a gift that life has taught her to keep hidden, wrapped in layers of self-doubt and the quiet belief that her ideas aren't quite worthy of the world's attention. But today, something is different. Today, a conversation will change everything, will shift the trajectory of her life in ways she can't yet imagine. Because sometimes, the person who sees your worth isn't the one you expect. Sometimes they're sitting quietly in the corner, observing with the kind of attention that recognizes something rare and precious, watching you create something beautiful, waiting for the right moment to tell you that you matter more than you know. This is a story about the courage to share our smallest ideas, about the profound impact of someone who truly listens, and about the way recognition can transform not just one life, but ripple outward to change the world in ways we never anticipated. The morning rush at Bean and Bloom moves like a gentle river rather than a raging torrent, and Clara prefers it this way. Fewer eyes watching her every move, fewer chances for judgment, fewer opportunities for the small failures that feel magnified under scrutiny. She reaches for her secret ingredient, a small jar of jasmine powder she blends herself every Sunday evening in her tiny apartment kitchen. "You're doing it again," May whispers, sliding up beside her with that knowing smile that's become as familiar as morning coffee. At 29, May has the kind of easy confidence Clara envies. The ability to speak up in meetings, to take space without apology, to believe she belongs wherever she finds herself. Her red hair catches the morning light, and her presence brings energy that makes the small coffee shop feel more alive. "Doing what?" Clara asks, though she already knows the answer, already feels the familiar flush of embarrassment that comes with being observed in her private moments of creativity. "Adding your magic touch to drinks that aren't even on the menu," May says, watching as Clara creates delicate foam art, swirling jasmine into the cappuccino with movements that are almost dance-like. "You know what I think? I think you should pitch this to management. The Jasmine Dream. That's what you called it, right? The way you balance the floral notes with the coffee's natural bitterness. It's like nothing I've ever tasted." Clara's laugh is soft, almost apologetic, the sound of someone who's learned to deflect compliments before they can take root, who would listen to ideas from a shy girl with no formal training. I'm just someone who makes coffee. I don't have the credentials, the education, the background that matters in this industry. Just someone who makes coffee." May shakes her head, her voice rising slightly with frustrated affection. "Clara, you studied food innovation at UC Davis. You have instincts that culinary school graduates would kill for. You create flavors that make people close their eyes and smile. That's not just anything." But Clara has heard this before. The well-meaning encouragement that feels impossible to believe when you've been overlooked too many times, dismissed too quickly. The world has taught her that dreams are luxuries she can't afford, that creativity is a hobby rather than a calling. "I never finished the program," Clara murmurs, her voice barely audible above the hiss of the espresso machine. "When Mom got sick, I had to choose between school and taking care of her. I chose her, and I don't regret it, but it means I'm not qualified for anything beyond this. May's expression softens, and she places a gentle hand on Clara's arm. Your mother would be proud of what you've become, and finishing school doesn't determine your worth or your talent. Clara turns back to her work, but something in May's words settles in her chest like a small, warm ember. Maybe in another life, she murmurs, I would have been brave enough to share my ideas. In this one, I'm exactly where I belong. Yet even as she speaks these words, something in her heart whispers that maybe, just maybe, she's wrong. Take a moment to think about that secret talent you've been hiding, that idea you've been too afraid to share. What would it feel like to have someone truly see your potential and believe in your dreams before you believe in them yourself? Owen Carter sits in the corner booth, the one with the slightly wobbly table that most customers avoid. He's learned over the years that the best observations come from the margins, from places where people forget to perform, where authenticity emerges in unguarded moments. At 35, he's mastered the art of being invisible despite his position as CEO of Carter Coffee Roasters. The baseball cap pulls low over his eyes, the worn jeans and simple t-shirt. This is his disguise, though he's never thought of it that way. He simply prefers being seen as a person rather than a title, prefers conversations that aren't filtered through corporate hierarchies. In boardrooms, he's Owen Carter, CEO. Here, he's just Owen, a man who appreciates good coffee and genuine human connection. He's been watching Clara for 3 days now, not in any intrusive way, but with the kind of attention that recognizes something rare and precious. The way she moves behind the counter speaks of someone who understands coffee as more than a beverage. She treats it like a craft, a language of comfort she's trying to speak to the world. There's something compelling about this shy girl who creates with such careful precision, as if every cup is an opportunity to create something meaningful. When she approaches his table, there's a hesitation in her step, the body language of someone who's more comfortable behind the counter than in direct interaction. Good morning, she says softly, her voice carrying the careful politeness of someone who's learned to make herself pleasant and unobtrusive. Owen looks up, meeting her eyes for the first time. They're kind eyes, intelligent but guarded, holding depths that speak of dreams deferred and talents unrecognized. Actually, he says carefully, his voice warm and encouraging, I was hoping you might recommend something. Something not on the menu. Clara's face flushes, a wave of color that speaks to her discomfort with being singled out. I'm sorry, I don't really. The drink you made yesterday. Owen continues gently, his voice carrying the kind of respect that acknowledges expertise rather than hierarchy. The one with the delicate floral notes that somehow enhanced rather than overwhelmed the coffee's natural complexity. I've been thinking about it since I left. The silence stretches between them, filled with possibility and the weight of a moment that could change everything. Clara glances toward the counter, where May is pretending not to eavesdrop, but clearly listening to every word. I call it the Jasmine Dream, Clara admits, her voice barely above a whisper, the words carrying the vulnerability of someone sharing something precious and fragile. But it's not official or anything. I experiment sometimes. I know it's probably not something most people would want. Would you make one for me? Owen asks, his tone carrying genuine interest rather than mere politeness. I consider it an honor to taste something you've created. Something in his tone, respectful, genuine, free from the condescension she's learned to expect, makes Clara straighten her shoulders just a little. There's a recognition in his voice, an acknowledgement that what she creates matters. Ah, yes, I can do that, she says, and for the first time in the conversation, her voice carries a note of confidence. As she walks away, Owen watches her movements transform. There's a confidence in her steps that wasn't there before, a small flame of pride that someone has asked for her creation by name. It's the kind of transformation that happens when someone feels truly seen. Owen returns the next day, and the next, each visit a small ritual that brings unexpected brightness to Clara's morning routine. Each time, he orders the Jasmine Dream, each time with the same quiet appreciation that makes Clara feel like she's sharing something precious rather than simply serving coffee. She begins to anticipate his arrival, finding herself preparing the jasmine blend with extra care, wondering what he thinks, but never quite brave enough to ask directly. The routine becomes a small anchor in her day. She watches for his arrival, notes his quiet appreciation, feels a flutter of pride when he savors the first sip with the kind of attention she once thought was reserved for expensive wines or gourmet meals. It's a strange feeling, this sense of being noticed for her creativity rather than her efficiency. On the fourth day, Owen lingers after his usual quick departure. Clara is wiping down tables, her movements careful and methodical, when he calls her over with a gesture that's more invitation than command. "The drink," he says simply, his voice carrying the weight of considered judgment. "It's exceptional. I've been in the coffee industry for 15 years, and I've never tasted anything quite like it." Clara's cheeks warm, and she sets down her cleaning cloth with hands that tremble slightly. "Thank you. I've been working on the balance of flavors for months, trying to find the right proportion of jasmine to coffee, the perfect temperature for steeping, the ideal brewing time." Months? Owen's eyebrows rise, and there's something in his expression that speaks to professional interest rather than casual curiosity. "You've been perfecting this for months?" "I know it probably sounds silly," Clara says quickly, the words tumbling out in a rush of self-consciousness. "I mean, it's just coffee. But I think flavors can tell stories. This one reminds me of my grandmother's garden. She grew jasmine by her kitchen window, and every morning when I was little, the whole house would smell like hope and possibility." Owen is quiet for a long moment, his expression thoughtful. When he speaks, his voice carries the kind of respect that acknowledges artistry. That's not silly at all. That's the kind of thinking that changes industries. The ability to connect flavor with emotion, to create experiences rather than just beverages. That's what separates good coffee from extraordinary coffee. Clara laughs, a sound touched with disbelief and wonder. "I hardly think what I do here could change anything significant. Have you ever considered entering a competition?" Owen asks, his voice carrying gentle encouragement. "There are barista championships, innovation contests, opportunities for people with your kind of talent to be recognized on a larger stage. Those are for people with credentials," Clara says quickly, the familiar refrain of self-doubt. "Real baristas with certifications and training. I just make coffee for people who want something warm and comforting." Owen reaches into his wallet and pulls out a $20 bill, far more than his coffee costs, and underneath it, he slides a small piece of paper. "Talent doesn't wait for permission," he says simply, his words carrying the weight of hard-won wisdom. "It just waits for someone to believe in it." Clara stares at the paper long after Owen leaves, her heart racing as she reads the words written in careful handwriting. "Trust yourself. The world needs what you have to offer." May's sharp intake of breath cuts through the morning calm like a knife, sudden and startling in its intensity. Clara looks up from the espresso machine, where she's been lost in the familiar rhythm of grinding and brewing, to find her co-worker staring out the window with an expression of shock and disbelief. "May? What's wrong?" Clara asks, immediately concerned by the pallor in her friend's face. "Clara." May's voice is barely above a whisper, her eyes wide with realization. "That man, your regular customer. Do you know who he is?" Clara glances toward the door where Owen has just exited, the same quiet figure who's become such a pleasant part of her morning routine. "He's nice. He appreciates good coffee. He likes the jasmine dream. He leaves generous tips and actually listens when I explain the flavors." "What?" May grabs Clara's arm, her grip urgent as she pulls her toward the window. Outside, Owen is climbing into a sleek black vehicle that Clara has never noticed before. On the side, in elegant script, are the words Carter Coffee Roasters, Executive Division. May breathes, her voice filled with awe and possibility. That's Owen Carter. He's the CEO of Carter Coffee Roasters, the biggest coffee chain on the West Coast. The world tilts, and Clara grips the counter as the implications crash over her like a wave. Everything she thought she knew about their interactions, every casual conversation, every moment of feeling valued and seen, it all takes on new meaning that's both thrilling and terrifying. "No," she whispers, her voice shaking with the effort to maintain her sense of reality. "No, he's just Owen. He wears baseball caps and asks about my day and treats me like a person rather than just service staff. And he's been coming here for a week," May says, her voice rising with excitement, "ordering your off-menu creation, watching you work, asking about your techniques." "Clara, do you understand what this means? The CEO of the largest coffee company in the region has been personally evaluating your work." Clara's mind races, trying to reconcile the quiet, respectful man she's been serving with the corporate executive May describes. Every interaction takes on new weight. His interest in her techniques, his questions about her process, his genuine appreciation for flavors she thought were too unconventional for mainstream appeal. "He was probably just being polite," she says, her voice shaking with the effort to maintain her defenses against hope. "Rich people are taught to be nice to service workers. He probably felt sorry for me." "Clara Jensen," May says firmly, her voice carrying the force of frustrated affection, "you stop that right now. You stop making yourself small just because someone important noticed you're extraordinary. You stop diminishing your talent just because it scares you to think it might actually matter." But Clara is already retreating, both physically and emotionally, her body language shifting into the protective posture she's perfected over years of disappointment. The shy girl who's learned to hide her light under a bushel isn't ready to believe that maybe, just maybe, her dreams might be larger than she's allowed herself to believe. "I need to get back to work," she mumbles, turning away from the window and the impossible truth waiting outside. The email arrives on a Tuesday afternoon, landing in Clara's inbox like a meteor that threatens to shatter her carefully constructed world of limited expectations. She's checking her email during her break, scrolling through the usual collection of promotional messages when she sees it, a subject line that makes her heart stop. "Carter Coffee Innovation Challenge, personal invitation." Clara stares at the screen, her heart hammering against her ribs. With trembling fingers, she opens the message, reading words that seem too extraordinary to be real. "Dear Clara, Carter Coffee Roasters is pleased to invite you to participate in our annual Innovation Challenge, a competition that seeks to identify exceptional talent in flavor development and coffee innovation. Based on an internal recommendation, we believe you would be an ideal candidate for this opportunity. The competition includes a full scholarship for professional development, mentorship opportunities with industry leaders, and the chance to see your creation featured across our entire network of locations. Winners will also have the opportunity to join our product development team. We understand that you may have questions about your qualifications or background. Please know that this invitation is based solely on the exceptional quality of your work and the potential we see in your creative approach to coffee crafting. Please confirm your participation by Friday. We look forward to seeing what you can create. Best regards, Owen Carter, CEO, Carter Coffee Roasters. Clara reads the email 17 times, each reading revealing new layers of possibility and terror. The words blur together as tears she didn't realize she was crying gather in her eyes. May find her sitting motionless at the small staff computer, her face pale and her hands shaking. "Clara? What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Is that what I think it is?" May asks, reading over Clara's shoulder, her voice rising with excitement. "It's impossible," Clara whispers, her voice carrying the weight of years of disappointment. "People like me don't get opportunities like this. There has to be some mistake. People like you." May's voice rises with frustrated affection. "Clara, you're talking about yourself like you're some kind of imposter. You studied food innovation at one of the best programs in the country. You have instincts that can't be taught, creativity that can't be learned in classrooms. You've been creating magic in this little coffee shop for 2 years. But I never finished school," Clara protests, her voice breaking slightly. "I had to leave when my mom got sick. I don't have credentials. I don't have a degree. I don't have any formal training in business or marketing. You have talent. May interrupts, her voice firm but gentle. You have passion that comes from the heart rather than from textbooks. You have a gift that makes people close their eyes and smile when they taste what you've created. That's worth more than any diploma. Clara stares at the email, paralyzed by possibility and fear in equal measure. What if I fail? What if I get there and everyone realizes I don't belong? What if I embarrass myself in front of people who actually know what they're doing? May sits beside her, her voice gentle but unwavering. What if you succeed? What if you walk in there and show them that innovation doesn't come from classrooms? What if you prove that the best ideas come from passion and creativity and the courage to try something new? The Carter Coffee Innovation Center feels like a cathedral of coffee culture, all gleaming equipment and sophisticated atmosphere that speaks to serious business and professional excellence. Clara stands in the lobby, overwhelmed by the displays of award-winning innovations, the photographs of successful competitions, the confident competitors who clearly belong in this world. Her hands shake as she clutches the folder containing her presentation notes, her recipe cards, and the small jar of jasmine blend that represents months of careful experimentation. Everything about this place speaks to a level of professionalism she's never experienced, a standard of excellence that makes her feel like an amateur pretending to be an expert. She's about to turn around and leave, to retreat to the safety of her small world, where failure carries smaller consequences, when Owen appears beside her with the same quiet presence that has become familiar over the past week. Second thoughts? He asks gently, his voice carrying understanding rather than judgment. I shouldn't be here, Clara admits, her voice barely above a whisper. Look at these people. They have degrees from prestigious culinary schools, years of experience in corporate settings, proper training in presentation and business development. I'm just a shy girl who experiments with flavors in her tiny apartment kitchen. Owen is quiet for a moment, studying her with those perceptive eyes that seem to see more than she's comfortable revealing. Can I tell you a secret? He says finally, his voice carrying the weight of personal experience. I dropped out of business school. Twice, actually. My father said I'd never amount to anything without that degree, that I was wasting my potential. Clara looks at him in surprise, seeing him fully for the first time, not as the successful CEO, but as someone who understands the weight of others' expectations. But I'm successful despite what I lack on paper, not because of what I have. Owen's voice is warm, understanding, free from the corporate polish she expected. The best innovations don't come from textbooks, Clara. They come from people who see possibilities where others see limitations, who understand that genuine creativity can't be taught in classrooms. But what if I'm not good enough? Clara asks, voicing the fear that has haunted her for years. What if I get up there and prove that I really am just a shy girl with delusions of grandeur? What if you are exactly what the coffee world needs? Owen counters, his voice carrying quiet conviction. What if you're the person who understands that flavor is about emotion, about story, about connection? What if your lack of formal training is actually your greatest strength because it means you haven't been taught to limit your imagination? Clara takes a shaky breath, feeling the weight of the moment and the possibility it represents. Around them, the competition is beginning, and she can hear the confident voices of other competitors discussing their strategies and techniques. But something in Owen's steady confidence gives her the courage to step forward. The Jasmine Dream, she says quietly, her voice growing stronger with each word. It's not just about the flavor profile or the brewing technique. It's about the memory of my grandmother, the hope she taught me to carry even when everything else seemed impossible. It's about believing that small moments can be extraordinary. Owen smiles, and for the first time since she arrived, Clara feels like she might actually belong here. That's exactly what they need to hear. Clara's hands shake as she prepares for her presentation, the jasmine blend measuring out with the precision of someone who has practiced this ritual countless times. The bright lights feel harsh against her skin, and the watching eyes of judges and competitors create a weight of expectation that threatens to crush her confidence. But as she begins to speak, something extraordinary happens. The nervousness doesn't disappear. It transforms into something else entirely. Passion, purpose, the deep knowledge that she has something valuable to offer the world. Coffee, she begins, her voice growing stronger with each word, isn't just a beverage. It's a bridge between moments, between people, between the ordinary and the extraordinary. It's the pause in a busy day, the comfort in a difficult moment, the celebration of simple pleasures that make life beautiful. She demonstrates the preparation of the Jasmine dream, explaining not just the technical aspects, but the emotional journey that led to its creation. Her hands move with practiced confidence as she describes the delicate balance of flavors, the careful timing that allows each element to shine. This isn't just about innovation for its own sake, she continues, her voice carrying the conviction of someone who has found her calling. It's about creating experiences that connect us to memories, to emotions, to the people and places that shape who we are. Every cup tells a story, and the Jasmine dream tells the story of hope, of possibility, of the belief that beauty can emerge from the most ordinary circumstances. The judges taste in silence, and Clara watches their faces with desperate attention. When the head judge closes her eyes and smiles, the same smile May had described, the same expression of unexpected delight, Clara knows she succeeded in sharing something true and meaningful. "This is exceptional," the judge says finally, her voice carrying professional respect. It's innovative without being flashy, sophisticated without being pretentious. It tells a story that makes us want to be part of it, that transforms the simple act of drinking coffee into something memorable. 2 hours later, Clara stands on the small stage, holding a certificate that declares her the winner of the Innovation Challenge. But more than that, she holds the knowledge that she belongs here, that her voice matters, that her dreams are not only valid but valuable. Owen approaches as the crowd disperses, his expression carrying quiet satisfaction. "Congratulations," he says simply, "though I have to admit, I'm not surprised. I knew from the first sip that you had something special." "Thank you," Clara says, her voice thick with emotion, "for believing in me before I believed in myself, for seeing something in me that I couldn't see. I have a proposition," Owen continues, his voice carrying the weight of serious business. "Carter Coffee is launching a new program, Hidden Talent. We want to identify and nurture gifted individuals regardless of their formal background. Would you consider being our first lead creative barista for the California region?" Clara stares at him, the offer so large and unexpected that she can barely comprehend its implications. "You're offering me a job? A real position with responsibilities and the chance to actually make a difference?" "I'm offering you a chance to share your gift with the world," Owen corrects gently. "To help other people discover that talent doesn't require permission. It just requires recognition and the courage to step forward." 6 months later, Clara stands in the flagship Carter Coffee location, watching baristas from across the state implement the Hidden Talent program that has become her life's work. The Jasmine Dream has become a permanent menu item, but more importantly, it's become a symbol of possibility, a reminder that innovation can come from anywhere and anyone. The space buzzes with energy that feels different from typical corporate environments. These aren't just employees going through the motions. They're people who have been given chances they never thought possible, who have discovered that their unique perspectives and unconventional backgrounds are assets rather than limitations. May joins her, now serving as regional training coordinator for the new program, her red hair catching the afternoon light as she surveys the bustling cafe with satisfaction. "Remember when you used to say you were just a barista?" she teases, but her voice carries affection rather than mockery. Clara laughs, but it's different now. Fuller, more confident, carrying the resonance of someone who has found her place in the world. "I remember thinking I didn't belong anywhere important, that my ideas were too small and my background too limited to matter. And now, May asks, gesturing toward the diverse group of baristas who are sharing their own innovations with customers who respond with the same delight Clara once saw in Owen's eyes. Clara looks around the bustling coffee shop, at the baristas who've been given chances they never thought possible, at the customers who've discovered that their local coffee shop might be home to the next great innovation. Now I think maybe belonging isn't about fitting into spaces that already exist, she says thoughtfully. Maybe it's about creating spaces where others can belong too, where everyone's story matters. Owen appears beside them, carrying 3 cups of coffee, his presence as comfortable and familiar as family. Final review meeting, he asks, but his tone is light, familial, free from the corporate formality that once might have characterized their interactions. More like celebration, May corrects, her voice bright with pride. Clara's program has identified 47 exceptional baristas across 3 states. People who might never have been noticed otherwise, who might have spent their entire careers believing they weren't good enough. People like me, Clara adds softly, her voice carrying the weight of gratitude and the knowledge of how different her life might have been. People who thought their ideas were too small to matter, who believed that innovation was reserved for people with the right credentials. Owen raises his cup in a quiet toast, his expression carrying the satisfaction of someone who has helped change lives. To small ideas with big hearts, he says, his voice warm with affection. And to the family we choose when we decide to truly see each other, to recognize potential wherever it exists. As evening falls, the 3 of them sit together in comfortable silence. No longer CEO and employees, but something more precious. People who found their place in the world by helping others find theirs. A year later, Clara receives a letter that changes everything again, but this time the surprise is different. It's the joy of recognition rather than the shock of being seen. The letter comes from a young man in Oregon named David, a night shift security guard who's been experimenting with coffee roasting techniques during his breaks. He's seen her story, heard about the hidden talent program, and wants to know if his ideas might matter too. His letter is filled with the same self-doubt Clara once carried, the same belief that people from his background don't get opportunities to share their innovations with the world. Clara reads the letter twice, feeling the echo of her own journey in his words, remembering the terror and hope she felt when Owen first noticed her creation. She picks up her phone and dials the number he's provided, her heart full of the desire to pass forward the gift she was given. "Hello," she says when he answers, her voice warm with understanding and recognition. "I heard you have some ideas about coffee roasting. I'd love to hear them." The conversation that follows is gentle, encouraging, filled with the kind of recognition that changes lives. Clara finds herself saying the words she once desperately needed to hear. Talent doesn't wait for permission. It just waits for someone to believe in it. And I believe in you. After the call, Clara sits in her office with her name on the door and her dreams living on the walls, and reflects on the journey that brought her here. From a scared, shy girl hiding her innovations to a leader helping others discover their own worth. From someone who believed she didn't belong to someone who creates belonging for others. The Jasmine dream sits on menus across the country now, but its real legacy isn't in sales figures or recognition. It's in the story it tells. That extraordinary things can come from the most ordinary places, that belief in someone else's potential can change the world, and that sometimes the family we're looking for is waiting in the space between a question and an answer. Every day, there are Claras in coffee shops and offices and classrooms, holding on to dreams they think are too small to matter. Every day, there are shy girls and quiet dreamers who believe their voices don't count, who think their ideas aren't worthy of attention. And every day, there are opportunities to be like Owen, to notice, to encourage, to offer the recognition that transforms lives. The most powerful innovations don't always come from corporate boardrooms or prestigious universities. Sometimes they come from someone who sees jasmine powder as possibility, who treats coffee like poetry, who believes that small moments can contain infinite beauty. Clara's story reminds us that talent isn't measured by credentials or degrees, but by the courage to share our gifts with the world. It lives in the quiet moments when we dare to believe that our ideas matter, when we choose to see potential in others, and when we create spaces where everyone can belong. Clara's courage to share her idea changed everything, not just for her, but for countless others who found their voice through her example.